We are resuming our special meeting. At this time, Mr. Town Council, do we have anything to report out?
We have no report out from the closed session item for the special meeting.
Okay, so that will close our special meeting, and we will now resume the regularly scheduled board meeting. Where we left off was the closed session meeting. Do we have any report out on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have no report out today on the closed sessions for the regular board meeting today.
Okay, thank you. So at this point, we are on to public comments. How many public comments do we have?
We have 6 speaker requests.
Can you call the first 3 at this time, please?
The first 3 speakers, if you could line up behind the podium, Brigitte, Elia Soglin, and Robert Soglin.
I may have only one match, but I can cause an explosion. Rachel Platten. The explosion I'm referring to is a hurricane of a scandal that is brewing due to the unholy alliance that you guys have, you 5, with the district attorney. The DA stands for disabled, by the way. That's the acronym. And it's coming to bear fruit. And this little back and forth you guys had with expanding the DA's reach into the sober living homes. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. That's the same DA that took an autistic adult son from Elia Soglin, a Russian Jewish immigrant who should be on the Ellen show with his wife, Riva, for being good parents of an autistic adult. Instead, the DA maliciously prosecutes him, puts a restraining order on him and his wife, and forces him into a probate court that you would be better off in a dark alley with a guy named Guido at 3 o'clock in the morning with a Louisville Slugger in one hand and a .357 in the other hand. You'd be better off than him than a probate court judge at the Central Justice Center, armed with the guardian ad litem, public offender, county counsel, court examiner, and court investigator. With all due Blinken respect, could you explain to your colleague, Steele, Mr. Chairman, the reason the veins came out of Bait and Switcher's neck on that issue with the sheriff is because he's running for Blinken office of the district attorney, for God's sakes. Could you explain to Bait and Switcher that you're not supposed to campaign from the dais? And it's a pretty shameless thing to do, and it's going to get worse until November comes, because Bait and Switcher is a hammer, everybody is a nail. So he's got to, play Mighty Mouse. Here I come to save the day. So he's got to start casus belli. You start a fire, you put it out. And I'm here to tell you, the Attorney General should be very troubled with an illegal business that you guys are running, whereby you take over estates, you flip them to your fiduciary with the judge, and you don't pay any taxes on the property you sold to the IRS or the State Franchise Tax Board. That has serious ramifications. It's a fraud on the court scheme, and fraud on the court, there's no statute of limitations. It's like the knucklehead county council just sold the free and clear property yesterday, and you covered it up with a CEO risk management, Orange County grand jury, public guardian, internal auditor, and you put even a restraining order in order to silence me. Right. You guys are busted, and you should not be trusted.
Next speaker.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairman Doe and the Board of Supervisors. My name is Elia Soglin. Indeed, the Orange County Court has the best court what money can buy. I, my son Robert, and Michael Klubnikin, and occasionally others decent American citizens are pleading diligently for my son Nate's life on almost every Board of Supervisors meeting for 6 years. Last time, I could not and was restricted religiously to work, drive, use electricity, and be tape. And I appreciate that Brian kindly tried to help me. And that was confusion for everyone. But I value the order, religious, and the American Constitution and the rules of law. Nate is descendant of Holocaust survivor. More accurately, he is a grandson of Holocaust survivor, has been abused, mishandled, tortured, enforced of poisonous drugs and medical experimentation for the extermination, or another way to say in terms of German Nazi terminology, for a final solution. For personal profiteering from public funding, the director of Orange County Regional Center, Larry Landauer, and his racist anti-Semitic criminal cohort. From sick, Nate was placed in as a slave for years in group home that more fit definition of extermination camp. From 6 million public funding reserved for Nate treatment, 3 million the con man Larry Landauer steal from his and with his partner for personal profiteering, while rest of 3 million of public funding were wasted. I'm coming for you for years, say how the public money are stealing by these criminals. When somebody will pay attention that exist constitution, exist rules of law, and no judge or public defender is not allowed to go against constitution. Why we live by one law and the bureaucracy live by another law they can make for themselves?
Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Honorable Board of Supervisors, Robert Soglin, brother of Nate Soglin. As I stated before, background, brother, if you would look in the probate case, A246780, started in San Diego, kidnapped by Child Protective Services in the Poway, put in a group home, a foster home, ran away, so put him in a psych ward, put him on dangerous psychotropic drugs, almost killed him, put him in various other placements, hospitalized barely, transferred to Fairview, 2008, had a public defender who was willing to put herself on the line to release him and save his life, and from Fairview. Got him released in 2008. That was Miss Bundens. You can check on the court record. So 2008, released home, stayed in the home for 6 years. 2012, Irvine PD comes in the home. Why? Supposedly if you would look at the coincidence, when they removed services from the regional center, and at that time there was a private providers, but they removed services, and this is the connection my father tries to emphasize to you. As his background is a professor of mathematics, as is my mother, and he's trying to emphasize the simple logic here. Why is it that when he's in a home, you guys should know the Constitution quite well, you're not allowed to legally search and seizure? Why did they remove him from the home? Why when he is at the home, he had a good health, no seizures, no PS, then the doctor can testify in court that he always had seizures. Now he swelled up to over 200 pounds, used to be very healthy in martial arts, in middle school, A's and B's, and now all of a sudden they were able to put him 6,500, 56, whatever numbers they wanted to put him, retarded. Then he was released, and then they release him, third release, and this is a credit to the public defender attorneys who did their job. When they did, Miss Beasley and then Johnston, they did their job. They had a good doctor. In 2013, Nathan Levid testified that autistic people should not be put on psychotropic drugs and warehoused, released, so they put them in the group home, and they do the same thing. They get their Dr. Wachnine, psychiatrist, put him on Zyprexa and Depakote, 2,000 milligrams of Depakote, 15 milligrams of Zyprexa, antipsychotic, for over 4 years. Why did they do that? No diagnosis as such. Even their own papers is autism. Anyway, seizures, EPS, they cover up medical records. And then Miss Bianchi, the so-called public defender, comes in and says he doesn't have seizures. Father tells him to have seizures. Okay, you want to say that he's lying, that he's abused because they don't have a camera there? But seizures, this is a scientific medical thing that you can test. So this is why I'm hoping that the board, I recall your county council mentioned policing power, public defender office and other offices should intervene to save his life, and this is should be of utmost importance to the board regarding an urgency. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last three speakers, if you could line up behind the podium, are Lou Noble, Brian Kay, and Anna.
John 7:27 says, "Do not judge by appearance, but judge with right judgment." John 3:20 says, "For everyone who does wicked things hates the light and does not come to the light, lest his works should be exposed." Now about mental issues, as Mr. Soglin and his son Robert have been coming here for years asking for their son, brother, return to his home. Has been exposed, as they have been exposed in the group's homes that should have been investigated, in which medical records they will not even release. But as we know it, it seems that you, the board, are powerless to do anything, because I believe it's been the public defender's and DA's responsibility to do so. Now, Nate, for years, has been kept on psych drugs, which have for years done nothing for his health than worsen it. He was better off before the treatment even started. The rise of mental illness is not that people have been mentally ill for too long, but as we know it, it's through depression and now oppression, abuse, criminalization of people for being in a certain class of citizens. Due to their misfortunes, mental illness will arise. Mental illness will not be alleviated by empathy and compassion to take care of those who are in need of help through education, a safe place with privacy and security. Shelters only work if the people are treated humanely and are able to transition to jobs that pay living wages ASAP for those in good health, and housing that is needed. About incompetence, the directions that you have been going through years have cost taxpayers over $300 million plus a year and rising, making things worse with people dying in the streets, getting sick due to the lack of proper sanitation and sheltering. But your solutions have been boulders, sand mountains, fencing, and now the city's overwatering the parks, making it a problem with mosquito infestation and killing the trees, not to mention walking in mud. So here we are again. It's like a vicious circle over and over again every year that we have come here and to plead with you. So we need to actually sometimes ask our higher ends to get off their high horses and speak to us, because we know the solutions and ways of doing things.
Happy day. It's very nice to have the Honorable Tony Rackauckus join us this morning. It was amazing. For 3 hours, he sat there and paid absolute attention to this meeting, paid attention to each and every board member, and not one of you can look at the public now. It's amazing. Sean Nelson even said that he never smirks or laughs at or makes fun of it or interrupts or threatens speakers, yet he does that. Intelligence, the ability to learn or understand or deal with new or trying situations, the skilled use of reason, like Todd Spitzer learning that Roundup is not safe or healthy. Ignorance, lack of knowledge, education, or awareness. Stupid, slow of mind, lacking intelligence, reason. Todd Spitzer believed that Roundup was safe. He believes that forced mental health is acceptable. He believes that abandoning his wife at Wahoo's while a dangerous person is right there within proximity and who could threaten and kill his family, but, Todd didn't mind. Todd believes that medications like Paxil help people, that Ron Thomas cared about Kelly Thomas. Ron Thomas was the evil stepfather that wanted Kelly dead and was willing to use mental health and forced medication. That it is okay to brush off constituents who bring forth information, facts, and laws. That having 2,000 empty jail beds means that you need to fill them. He also believes that the moral and legal responsibility to kill people who don't agree with him, and that it's okay for OK and California public defenders, district attorneys, corrections officers, sheriff's deputies to violate HIPAA by reading people's backgrounds, violate HIPAA by releasing these backgrounds, threaten to kill people for being labeled mentally ill, attempt to kill people for being labeled mentally ill, and kill people for being labeled mentally ill. The worst two, that these other four, Lisa, Sean, Doe, and Steele, remain silent and endorse Todd Spitzer in this basically these stupid actions. The worst part, the single worst part, is that all five of you believe that when Sean Nelson and Andrew Doe say that you can't do anything, that you can't. Because you can. You are the ones who are doing it. You're the ones who are ignoring people. You're the ones who are ignoring the people. You're the ones who have your faces down. Sean Nelson is the one who eats during the entire meeting and then has the gall to lambaste the Honorable Tony Rackauckus. Sean Nelson doesn't even have the decency or dignity to look up and see what the speakers are saying. I can thank Andrew Doe for giving me an entire, there's 5, 6, 7 seconds. Thank you, Andrew. Hey, I love you guys, and the reason why we come here is because we don't want to see you make these horrible mistakes, because we care about you.
Thank you.
We don't want to see you poison your children.
time is up.
We don't want to see you put innocent people in jail.
Come on.
We don't want to see you insult.
Mr. K, you're done.
Happy day. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Ana Ramirez. I live in the city of Fullerton, and once again, I'm coming before the board to sort of demand a little bit of accountability as well as sort of transparency on the confirmation of the Truth Act Forum. I know that I've been coming like a couple of times, at least like once a month, to sort of like see where things are at in terms of like confirming the time and location for this forum. In the past, or like a few months ago, Contra Costa County, Fresno County, as well as Alameda County, they've all already had their Truth Act Forum. So I'm just wondering, why is it that Orange County has taken so long to be able to put this together and sort of like have and bring in the public to provide their own public comments as well? So I don't know whether it's like waiting for elections to be over, if that's an issue, but I'm just here like demanding accountability and a little bit of transparency as well in terms of like where the process is at and how is it that community members can become aware of like when this forum will be taking place. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kim, any comments? Board members, comments?
Yeah, I do.
Supervisor Spitzer?
Thank you very much. During the board meeting, the Angels announced they were giving notice to the city of Anaheim on the stadium. Today was the deadline for the notice. Otherwise, if they hadn't given notice today, it would go to 2028, so they would have lost their right. You know, Mr. Kim, when we watched what was happening with the Irvine Company trying to get Amazon, remember there was a worldwide or Northern Hemisphere competition about Amazon. You know, I didn't think the county really engaged. The Orange County Business Council did. Other groups did. Irvine Company certainly did. But this county needs to play a very, very big role in terms of these big decisions like that. I mean, to think that we could lose a baseball team that's been at Angel Stadium since 1966 when the franchise began. I believe I have that correct. That's just off the top of my head. I could be wrong. But my point, it's been 3 decades, so or more. So I would just ask that you put your head together with your team, Lucy Dunn, the Business Council, anybody who has an interest in making sure that we don't lose a sports, you know, the Angels sports team. Trying to get them is difficult. Trying to keep them is difficult. Obviously, these kinds of sports, it's big money, right? I mean, there's a whole issue about whether they want a stadium built and things like that. Look, we have the Tustin Marine Corps Air Station. We have land there that we haven't necessarily come up with a vision. We're trying to figure out things with the city of Tustin. The city of Tustin had entered in some negotiations, or at least some discussions, with Angels baseball, but it was over the cost of who would build a stadium. I'm not judging one way or another today, but that news that I picked up on while I was sitting here, I actually got a text from Mr. Carpino, who's the president of Angels baseball. He tried to call. He probably tried to call Sean too, since we kind of share that area. But the point is, I just don't want to wake up and say the county's not engaged in a conversation about what could that potentially mean. I don't see this as just an Anaheim issue. I think it's a county-wide and a regional issue. So I just would like you to start thinking now that they've given notice. I know that notice is just a placeholder, but I don't want to see that the County of Orange wasn't engaged in a conversation about how to try to retain, that important franchise to our county. I think it's part of the Angels baseball is part of our culture here in Orange County. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Supervisor Bartlett?
Thank you, Chair. So you may have heard the story about the 2 male kittens that were found at the Prima-de-Checa landfill in San Juan Capistrano recently. So they were found at the landfill, both male kittens, so they were aptly named Landon and Phil. And finding the 2 3-week-old kittens amongst the tons of garbage that's out there is like finding a needle in a haystack. But I want to say thank you to the first-rate staff and OC Waste and Recycling, in particular Selwyn Weinert, who found the kittens, and for their attentiveness and coordination in getting them, contacting the different animal shelters in South County. And want to say thank you to the San Clemente Dana Point Animal Shelter for actually picking up the kittens and getting them into foster care. So because of the hardworking efforts of the OC Waste and Recycling team and the San Clemente Dana Point Animal Shelter team, both kittens will have the opportunity around Thanksgiving to get adopted out to forever homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any adjournments? None? Okay. That concludes our meeting for today. Our next regularly scheduled meeting will be on October 30th at 9:30 a.m. Today's meeting is hereby adjourned.